welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Let's be honest, this is the best job on the planet. Doesn't matter where you're from, what background, what personality type, you can have an amazing life in sales. And today's guest is no stranger to the journey. I was checking out his website and his story, and I know he's got a good one for me. So I want you guys to welcome my friend, Mr. Whitney Stowell. What's up, brother?
Hey, Drew, we really appreciate you having me on the show. Definitely been looking forward to it. Super excited to be here today. So thanks again.
You got it. I'm excited, and I want to jump right in, man. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
So this was years ago. I've been a rugby player for since I was probably about 18 years old. And after I got a massive black eye during one rugby practice, I think I took a knee to the face. But that what happened. So next day I was showed up, had a burly black guy, and I reported to a retired 2-star general. He saw me. He didn't question what happened, but in the moment he said, "You come to the meeting." Because a bunch of special operators were in the meeting. He goes, "This is exactly what we need to bring for the meeting." I said, "All right." So clueless of why I was actually supposed to be in the meeting, but that just all of a sudden calmed the mood of everybody in the room. Everybody got super excited, but that just the environment, everybody just felt at ease. We could share just a fun moment. But it also showed that we're just not always so serious about the job right in front of us. We could have a lot of fun as well. But yeah, just having a black eye and being able to talk about it was actually able to show, just we're here together. So that's what actually helped be able to pull a deal in as well. So yeah, that's kind of the crazy story I had. And of course, that was one of many future black guys that I had.
Well, and it makes me think of the scene from Fight Club where he shows up at the office and he's got a black eye and they're looking at him like, what is going on? Yeah. And, there's so many directions we could go with that. One, I think the rapport and the authenticity of hey, special forces guys, they've probably shown up in some weird places with all sorts of cuts, scrapes, bruises. So there's a camaraderie there, which is that know, like, and trust factor. Yes. And also, the pattern interrupt, especially if you're not expecting someone to walk into a board meeting or something that's a little more what you would quote, typically considered to be serious with a big black eye. There's going to be some curiosity there. And curiosity is important because that creates intrigue, which then allows people to want to open up and share more. And so, over the years being in rugby and being in sales, how did you correlate the two together so that when you did show up looking a little busted up, they didn't question your situation?
Well, I think about it, even when I would sit down in a chair, you'd be like, oh, you would feel just the relief of either pain or what happened over the weekend. But you could see the two that, you play best when you play as a team. So it's always the team factor of it. You're going to have players that are great playing individually, but you need people that are really good passers, really good tacklers. And so, but you need to operate as a team. Communication, the higher level you play, the communication becomes so critical, but people are very good at it. So that kind of translates into sales that, you got to work together. You have the technical people, you have the proposal, you have the engineers, and you go up to leadership. The communication becomes cleaner and cleaner because people know what they need. How do you get the deal across? What do you want? But if there's a communication breakdown, how do you adapt and how do you overcome? Someone breaks a tackle in rugby, you got to, how are you going to mitigate that to actually go tackle, the players so you can actually get back on offense? So I think there's a lot of things you learn. When you lose, how do you overcome that? And how do you make sure, all right, how do you prepare to go into the next game? And I think that's one thing I really took away from playing sports, especially team sports, is you're going to lose deals. You can't be like, all right, go on to the next one. But what did you do that week to be like, all right, we lost. Let's review. Where was it? It wasn't just we lost on price. Did we lose because we didn't know the customer? that well. They didn't know who we were, or maybe we only knew one person. But obviously, the larger the deal, there's politics involved. There's many different layers. We didn't know enough people. All right, that's an action for us. We got to know a lot more people. So I think there's a lot of different attributes that you can really take away from it.
I love that. And, I was just thinking about, too, because you were mentioning rugby, and I've seen people in sales in different industries do this where you use industry-related jargon, right?
Yes.
In rugby, there's probably certain phrases or terminology that as soon as you hear it, boom, this is rugby, this is the next move, this is the next step. And if you don't know what that terminology is, it could be confusing. And one thing I've seen as an example in sales that can lead people to losing deals is using industry jargon. Mm-hmm. If you don't know who you're talking to, or they don't know the industry as well as you do, that can create confusion. That communication aspect is really, really important. And I love that you mentioned that because, among a team, in your team, you can use that jargon. You can use the short phrases and the quick little things that everybody recognizes. But when you're communicating with someone outside of the team, it's important to remember they don't always know what you know. I'd imagine that's something you've experienced along the way.
Oh, absolutely. And I've learned it from some of the mentors I've had along the way. And it's also, I want to make sure I always check myself, but it's also, you want to talk in how the client also talks as well. Because you can talk internally however it works, but when you go externally, talk in front of the clients, if they don't understand what you're talking about, you want to make sure you're talking how the client can understand you, talking, say, a fifth grader language. So there's simplicity amongst this. If you start talking very technical and it goes over their head, that's going to become it could be problematic, further down the line. So stay simple. Keep it simple. If they want to go deep, have that open communication. But if there's a communication breakdown, whether it's, in a potential sale, whether you're playing sports, like you do not want to have that happen, making sure if you're in sales or leadership, if you see that, mitigate it, as soon as possible.
Yeah, I love that. And I would be curious to know for you, what got you into sales to begin with? Are you in the same career that you started, or did you kind of have to find your lane?
So I worked on Capitol Hill years ago. And then after that, I eventually, I was really desperate for a job, let's put it that way. And so I worked for a defense contractor, and it was just a job out of, because during the 2008 crash, anybody was taking a job anywhere. So it's just like, how do I actually start to be able to pay my bills, put food on the table? But then I eventually got a job and had a really good mentor that was there. But it was definitely curious because I thought, learning how to build relationships, I thought I enjoyed it. It became natural. I love talking to people. So that's where I really started. But I also learned that there are relationships internally to your company, but also externally. Those are really the company wants to be able to protect that. So it's not like they would set you free immediately. You got to learn to grow into it. The company's got to learn to trust you. So, but that took time, and I appreciate, the guidance that I got on how to be able to do that. So worked with large companies, worked with small companies, also learned a lot on the startup side as well on how to be able to do that, because you will eventually want to become a trusted advisor in that area. So that's kind of where I've been. So I've bounced around a little bit, but it's mainly been in the sales and kind of the business development area.
It's funny how, maybe it's not funny, maybe that's just my trauma covering of like using humor to get over the dark past, but like a lot of us got into sales because we didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I've got to put food on the table. I've got, a wife or a kid or whatever responsibilities. And it's like, I'm going to go do whatever I got to do to make this a reality. And what's cool is that's why I love this job and why I created the show, because it's so many different perspectives and ways to find a lane for success. But it always comes back to a handful of very core things, principles, processes, core values. And what I'm always interested when I'm having these conversations with people from the different backgrounds and perspectives is, what do you do, or where do you feel like you differentiate yourself when it comes to the sales process? Like, what's your secret superpower or your secret sauce, whatever you want to call it?
So I would definitely, I look at it in a couple of different, I say, lights. One is, I've been in the sales world, so I also know what has worked and what has not worked. So I think, but I also look at it from where can I help companies really position themselves for success? Because, obviously they have a product or they have a service, they want to start selling it. But it's like, don't just look at the win today. You look at it where you want to be 6 months or 12 months from now. So how do you position yourself as a trusted advisor within this respected market? So that, because I know what a structured environment is from a large multinational company, but I also looked at it from a small and from a startup. So I've seen different ways, so I've been there from how do I get you to a structured environment, but also from a small business and where you got to do we wear multiple hats. So I've seen it across the whole spectrum, and how I can actually help you be there, as well as working, obviously from working in a team environment as well. So that's kind of where I see myself kind of differentiating myself. Like, I know where we need to be, and I'm not just doing this from shooting from the hip. So I know how to be able to help you get there. Let me help you actually be able to build and be able to win in the long term. It's kind of a long answer to getting there. I kind of needed to set the table for you.
Well, and I think it leads to your being a guide, because you understand that in order to achieve the goal, the result, the whatever it is, there has to be a plan. And in that plan, there are certain resources that have to be in place. And to achieve those resources, certain processes have to happen. And it's interesting for guys like you and I, as we've progressed in our careers, where we can't always just give a simple answer, because it's not always such a simple thing.
No, it's not.
And what's funny is, like, it's easy most of the time. Like, most things aren't rocket science. It's just it's not difficult per se,
Yeah.
but it's not a simple explanation either, because the nuance and understanding the years and years of getting your teeth kicked in and getting told no and being rejected and making what could potentially be 6 and 7 figure mistakes along the way, and being blessed enough to have a mentor or someone who's taken you under their wing and being able to be like, you know what? Yeah, that may have just cost us $1 million contract, but it's okay, buddy. We're going to get the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be curious for you, were you someone that kind of pushed back against mentorship early on, or were you someone that was like, hey, give me all the knowledge ASAP?
So I said yes. I said yes a lot, and I think that was maybe the athlete in me. It's like I said yes to anything and everything, and because I never wanted to see an opportunity, I wanted to see every potential opportunity, whatever it might have been, because I didn't want to ever regret. It's like, hey, I might have missed out on something, and so I wanted to be able to see whatever it might be, but also it gets me in front of other senior level decision makers, like, hey, look, Whitney's taking on something new, whatever it might be. And then there were some companies that did not offer career and mentorship, and I eventually had to find it on my own. And it was mentioned to me a few times. And then luckily at one of my early companies, there was a couple of people who had started and built out large businesses, companies that went from small, $75 million into a large multi-billion. So I just hooked on naturally to them. When I eventually had, started my own business, I did it out of my own personal, goodwill. It's like, I need someone who has done this. There's a lot of corners I can't see around. I need someone who's going to, really be able to do this for me. So as part of that, I got my own career coach as well. So there were, I think coaching is good. Mentorship is good. It doesn't hurt to have that. So, and then of course at companies I have worked for. So there's been multiple angles that I take and I continue to take, because I don't know all the answers. I'm always going to miss stuff. I'm still going to fail, but I'm going to at least fall forward when I do that.
I love that. I always, I use the quote, you don't know what you don't know until you know. And then you have a decision to make. Because once you have the knowledge, you have to decide, are you going to execute on that knowledge? Are you just going to sit around and be one of those people that knows everything and does nothing with it, the world gives you a lot of opportunity. What I'd be really curious to know now, Whitney, as you've gotten older, do you still say yes to every opportunity?
So I think, so I wouldn't say yes to every opportunity. No, I've definitely like pulled back a little bit on what I would say yes to. And I think it's yes, is this going to help advance my business, advance my career? So I think it pivots a little bit. I'm still saying yes. I mean, I also like sit on a nonprofit board as well. So this will just help, grow the association that I'm a part of. So I think it's a little bit of pivoting. When I was definitely younger, it's like I need to absorb as much information as possible to be able to grow, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I just needed to make enough money to be able to, get from A to B. But so now it's just like, how do I actually be able to continue to grow myself, become more educated, and be able to help myself, help my clients, be able to build the association. So I think it's a little bit of pivoting on there. I will still, I know there's still gaps and where I can still grow. So I will still say yes and learn a lot more. Like there are areas that I'm not strong in on the technical side. Great. I know I've filled those gaps with friends and partners that can help fill that. That's not my area of expertise, but I have someone else that can help me with that.
I love that. And it's recognizing yourself, the self-awareness of being able to go, hey, this is for me or this is not for me. And what I've learned is, I want to say yes to a lot of things.
Oh yeah,
I really
absolutely.
do. I really do. And also, over the years, I've learned that time is my most valuable asset. I can make more money. Like, money is this figment, and as we progress in our mindset, the dollar, the zeros, they change, but it's just this thing. It's an energy. But time is something we cannot get back. And what I've learned as I've gotten older, now I'm married, I have a 9-year-old son, I've had a few scares along the way, and so I realized that by saying no, I'm actually increasing the value of my time, because where I spend it becomes that much more valuable.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's one of those things where I'm always curious for guys that was like, hey, I did everything all the time. It's like, do you still do that? How's that work? Because I can't do everything I want to do. I have to be very strategic.
Yeah, no, I definitely am strategic on it. It's just like, how do I pivot it to be? Am I picking the right things? No, but I say, if you're younger, figure out what you don't. If you don't know what you want to do yet, but say yes, because it gets you in front of leadership that might need help at a volunteer event. They need help, handing out some of the name tags, but they could open up a new door for you, or whatever it might be. Trying to do some market research, whatever it might be. I mean, that's what I was doing. But now it's just like, all right, I'm a little bit more strategic in what I'm going to do. So
I agree with you 100%. I'm one of those guys that when I go to a conference, if I don't know, like if I'm trying to just be cool, I'll show up and hey, what can I help with? Do you guys need me to take garbages out? Do you need me to put things on the table, clear tables? I'm one of those guys that I typically will try to look for trash. And if I know it's just trash, I'll just pick it up and throw it away. Cause I know,
absolutely.
When you're running events, especially, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you can't keep up on everything, and aesthetics make a big difference.
100%.
As much as my wife tries to get on me because, I like to dress comfortable. I like to wear flat bill caps. I'm covered in tattoos. I am who I am, but there's still a level of people see not just the exterior, but they see the energy that you bring to a room. They see the way that you interact with the team and the people around you. And I know you've mentioned a couple of times about teamwork and communication. And so how do you, and with your current business that you're running now, what's the main focus? How do you guys really help other small business owners and larger corporations as they go?
So I usually start off with is focusing internally before you focus externally. So I always like to level set. So the hardest question is always the why you. Like, what makes you different? What are your differentiators? Because it's like, hey, Like going back to the sports analogy, like, all your teams, whether it's NBA, NFL, whatever it might be, they practice before they ever go out and they play, right? So I think that's what any sales team or any company focusing on growth, what do you do so well that you're going to be picked out comparable to anybody else? It's seems easy, but it's incredibly hard. So we focus on that, and so we can build the go-to-market strategy. We can build the account management and the market development. Where do you want to go? What clients you want to actually be able to tackle? Because there are some businesses that they can choose whoever they want. What makes you different? And we have to be very specific on that so we can actually be able to grow, and you'll get the call back, or else you're just another number. So that's kind of how I actually really be able to build them out and become a trusted advisor. You'll get those callbacks. So it's kind of that level set planning, and then we're able to build them out so you can become that trusted advisor, use strategic sales, and you really can go deep in your accounts, like really deep, not just having surface level. I think deep account management can always be grown, and getting referrals and then growing in other areas as well. So that's what I usually focus on.
I love that. To me, it's one of those things that I kind of look at it as the brand starts inside before anyone else cares about the outside brand.
Yep.
People love, we'll just use Nike, for example. They buy into the just do it because it's like, they feel it long before anything else. They just know that passion exists. And if you looked inside the company, and I've read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I don't know if you've ever read that book. Have you ever read Shoe Dog?
I haven't yet. No.
Oh man, I think you'll love that.
Shoe Dog.
Shoe Dog. I'm pretty sure. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Okay. It's a fantastic read. It talks about how they, brought Nike to be and how like the origins of it. But everyone inside the company just had this die-hard belief and just, we're going to get it done. We're going to go for it. And that level of belief attracted other believers to want to be a part of it. And call the damn leads. I'm going to shamelessly plug that. That's one of those things that when you're in sales and you hear call the damn leads, you go, yeah, call the damn leads. Let's go.
Yeah.
So to you, with do you consider like branding as a part of the business development? How does that play in with what you do and the scale of it?
Yeah, I definitely consider branding a critical aspect of it, because people want to think of your name. What do you do? Because I think branding, there's a level of trust behind this. And I'm no PR expert. I'm no marketing genius of those large, but there is a level of trust. Can they look at the name, be like, all right, there's some the depth to that trust within that name, because yes, they're going to do it. Yes, they're authentic. Yeah, you can trust them. So I think that builds over time. And it's like, but you can build trust for 20 years, and in 3 minutes it can be gone. So like you want to, it's always continuously being built, and you do it either it's organically, face to face. It's also on the digital side, how you're doing it organically. So that's why I always say social selling. It's a great way to actually continuously grow it. And that's what I always tell my clients, is that always get up and get into a presentation area, because then when you're on stage and you're talking about the industry, market trends, whatever, you're not pitching your product or your solutions. You're talking about the industry, and people are there to listen to you. Don't think about leads now, but you're building the trust, because it reduces the risk of them wanting to do business with you. Like, oh, you know what you're talking about. Whether it's spray foam that goes into a building, whether you're selling cars, whether you're laying concrete or you're building a building, whatever it might be. Like you're reducing the risk for people that want to trust you. The larger the deal, the more trust you need, right?
Yeah, amen, brother. The trust is so key, and I think it does. It kind of circles back to what you mentioned earlier, from the communication and just doing what you say you're gonna do. People are watching what you're doing, especially inside the company. If you're in the leadership position, I call them employees, but the people you work with and around, they're all watching to see, the words that come out of your mouth mean one thing, but the actions that you take on the other side of that could dictate truly what those words mean in the big picture. And as you said, if you're trying to build trust and you're wanting people to really believe in this and be a part of it long term, whether it's someone on your team or a customer who's wanting to, send you referrals and work with you long term, that trust has to be a key factor. And I love how you talk about the different angles of what that means and how that plays into it. And honestly, we could probably sit here and nerd out on this all day long because I love sales and you clearly love it as much as I do. But what's the best way for me and the listeners to come and check you out and learn more about what you guys do and see if, how you do things would be a good fit for what we do in our world?
Yeah, no, we could definitely talk all day about this. So no, I appreciate that. So you can visit me on my website. It's called Cribworks, CRIBWORKS, Cribworks. You can visit me there. I publish content regularly. I also have a weekly newsletter called Hustle in the Darkness. So it's a weekly newsletter. It's all about actionable insights for sales that you can take. Usually I give you one actionable insight, whether it's AI related or how you can, what you can do at a trade show or how you can actually help sell internally. So Hustle in the Darkness. I definitely recommend checking it out.
I love the name of that because hustling in the darkness is where the real work is done and where the success is made, man. I can't tell you the early mornings, the late nights, the darkness, just getting things done. That's the real secret to success, is doing things when nobody else is. So I love that. I can't wait to check out the newsletter. I'm really just so grateful for your time and your energy, man. I'm so glad this worked out. And I got one more question before we get out of here. Because there's the cool thing about sales is, again, you can come from just about anywhere and make a life here. So that means there's someone new entering the sales industry every single day, thousands of people probably.
Yep.
My prayer is that we're lucky enough today that one of those new people just happens to go online and say, how do I sell more stuff? And they find Call the Damn Leads and this podcast and this specific episode. And they're at this point going, man, I'm excited. If you can give that person, the new guy that's just getting fired up about sales, one piece of advice to be successful, what would you tell them?
Wow, that's a great question. One piece of advice that if they get fired up is be humble. Don't be overly hungry. Be humble about yourself and what you're doing. Don't try to overextend yourself. Be humble and be yourself. Like, that's the number one thing. Don't try to oversell it and build on that. Build a relationship. Don't try to close instantly. Be humble. Sometimes it takes more than one phone call. Sometimes it takes 6. But be humble, and they'll appreciate it. That's what I would recommend.
Whitney, I absolutely love that advice. I loved our time together, and I cannot wait to share this with the world. So if you guys are listening and you enjoyed this episode, reach out to Whitney. Check out his website, Cribworks. Make sure you share this on social media. Put it in your stories, your timeline, wherever. Tag the two of us. Let us know that you spent some time here and you got some value. Because if you're willing to invest a little bit of time and you got some value, that means someone you know, someone you like and trust, they're going to get value from this too. So make sure you send it to them. Subscribe, leave us a review, do all those things that help us get in front of more amazing sales professionals like yourself. And most importantly, if you have an awesome sales story and you'd like to be on the show to share it, just like my new friend Whitney, head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send me your details. Let's get you on here. Let's chat, because this is the greatest job on earth, you guys. We get to sell stuff and help people all day long. And the more we sell, the more money we make. And the more money we make, the cooler our lives tend to be. So let's go out there. Let's help some people. Let's call the damn leads. We'll see you guys on the next one.